China's been seeing another round of cases recently. How concerned should we be?
I was not surprised of the so-called some sporadic rebound in China. COVID-19 pandemic is far from reaching the end because there's a big gap, as you know. On the one hand side, that's a strict containment. And the other hand is established the so-called herd immunity. So we need to be very much aware on the rebound of some country. Actually, some country had actually happened. So the policy decision maker, they reopen the society, economy too early. The so-called, we got that jump the gun.
Yeah.
So before the herd immunity is reached, a strict community interagency, the namely so-called mask distancing, hand washing, isolation of infected patients, and tracing contact should be continuing.
Talking about this, there is a question on many minds. From an expert's point of view, how can vaccinations help prevent further outbreaks of COVID-19?
If the protective rate of vaccine is about 70%, so at least 80% of the population should receive vaccination. If the protective rate is 80% of this vaccine, so at least 70% of the population should receive vaccination. That's one point. And the second point is the earlier the massive vaccine given, the less the mutation happen. So that's why in China we really in a urgent to receive massive vaccination as soon as possible.
Talking about vaccination, you in your mid-80s also got a jab recently. What was the vaccine?
I actually had got a sort of vaccine last week. It's a China-made. I have no any uncomfortable after vaccination. I think it's based on recent data. So there are several 100,000 people older than 60 had received vaccine, the China-made vaccine. And because we have several 100,000 people older than 60 receive this vaccine. So owing to the susceptibility of elderly people to be infected by COVID-19, I will recommend elderly people receive vaccine earlier.
Does the time frame between COVID-19 shots have an effect on immunity? Because before that, it was 14 days, 28 days, but now it's expanded to 8 weeks.
I don't think there's a very strict comparison in between the interval. Right now, I think for the homemade vaccine, taking the second dose, not longer than 8 weeks. That's our recommendation.
We cannot simply say the longer interval, the better immunity effect it has.
No.
Do you think coexisting with COVID-19 will become the norm?
If the impact of the health by COVID-19 is going less over time, so long time coexistence with COVID-19 with human will be possible. So if the protective rate of vaccine is no longer 1 year, so vaccination should be given every year. That's all possible, similar to influenza. In particular, as you know, the mutation is a virus and developed in some of the countries. We only can go and see what happens. But I suppose the coexistence with COVID-19 may be possible in the long run.
So vaccination should take place every year?
I don't know, actually. Nobody knows up to now. Some people said that, well, the mRNA vaccine will be longer, as long as 1 year. So the so-called whole virus inactivated vaccine, for example, Sinopharm or Sinovac, will have 8 months. So still go and see.